The top 20 athletic, victory, competitive sports themes as chosen by you and I. Well, I only picked one or two. Mostly you on our Discord. This is from Pilotwing Super Nintendo Hang Glider. I think this track is an absolute masterpiece and makes me really feel. I probably feel more listening to this than I would if I was on a real hang glider. That can't be true. That's really sad if that's true. Oh, but this part. Oh, baby. We had daylight savings time, so our clocks went ahead, and I didn't even bother to tell anyone in the Discord because I'm an ignorant North American. I'm sorry about that. I wonder if this is now I don't know if this is the normal time or if an hour back is the normal time. But I'm gonna tell all the Canadians I know, let's not go back in the fall. Let's leave it like this. I believe at one point they changed the clocks because of war. Like, if the Germans fly over, we wanted us to be in bed. So if we die, we'll be in our beds. All right, let's start off with number 1 from your choices. This is from, I'm not going to tell you because this is a pretty well-known track and pretty well-known game. By the way, Soya Oka did the original soundtrack to the original Pilotwings game. A masterful soundtrack. I love Birdman in Pilotwings 64, but it's more of a generic kind of like funk and let's play around and do solos and stuff. The original is kick-ass. All right, that is from Chrono Trigger. Fanfare. Short little loop. I like that sort of like the way the instruments kind of moving that bam, 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 and then the melody kind of existing a little bit over top. It almost kind of sounds like the trumpet melody line is on top of the thing that it's defeated underneath it. A very Final Fantasy-esque victory theme. Intro. That last part there. Ba, 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 ba. Fantastic. Very, not something you'd want to hear a lot, but probably something you don't need to hear a lot. A nice one. Kind of generic, but fun and kind of cozy. And I think all the different aspects that they bring in the instruments works well with Chrono Trigger because, like most JRPGs, there's more than one person fighting in your team. And also in Chrono Trigger, it's all about a large cast, multiple endings, multiple stories. It's interesting. You'd think that maybe they would have incorporated more things to do with time in Chrono Trigger, but I think Chrono Trigger, what they did was, it's kind of like Back to the Future. The movie Back to the Future starts off like a regular 80s movie. It only plays 80s songs, which at the time were current, but it just played licensed songs. And then the first time you hear the actual movie score is when they reveal the DeLorean. When Crazy Talk takes the sheet off, and then you hear the score and you hear the Back to the Future theme. So I wonder if Chrono Trigger was doing that. They're like, it's just a regular old JRPG, and then all of a sudden, like, time is involved, and it just really expands and becomes a multi-dimensional, multi-ending. Is it a masterpiece? I got a little bored going back to it, but I'm sure at the time it was mind-blowing. Alrighty. This one, I don't know if you guys will know this one. I guess we can play the guessing game. We'll see if anybody can guess it. This sounds really sporty to me. I like the way they kind of have that. It's almost like you're kind of getting punched. There's a bit of action coming before you'd expect it. A lot of nice punches. That like droning bass, that pedal bass. It really sounds like you're accomplishing things. Like this is the final collage. And that's how we're gonna take it away. We're gonna kill that fucking wizard asshole. Yeah! Oh yeah! Very positive. Sunny day racing. Good things are happening. And bad things, even if they do happen, will be resolved very quickly. Ooh, a water sports track. You mean when people do athletics on the water, right? It does have a, I think it's that crystally sort of synth they use. That comes up a lot in games around this era. I feel every week I say crystally sounds, but definitely there's some instruments in there that sound like they're made out of pure water. There's a separate wind theme if you don't get it perfect. Oh, eat that. In Grandia, that is. And in life, too. This next one, I think, is a bloody masterpiece, so we're going to hold off for a little bit while we get warmed up. To me, this feels like maybe like an airship theme or the introduction of a character, like making a grand entrance or perhaps explaining something big that's about to happen. Does anyone have the context in this one? It definitely sounds victorious, or like the introduction to something victorious, the introduction to a great event like the Olympics opening ceremony. We welcome, and then they list off all the countries you don't know. Botswanistan. Iki Deldariki Republic. Or crazy countries like the Netherlands. It plays in a castle after freeing it. It does have that like very, I don't know, the movement of it sounds like something great has happened. And there's sort of a triumphant inevitability about it. Great track. Great track. Great track. All right, the next one is from a PlayStation 1 remaster of PlayStation 1 stuff. Oh, that's so PlayStation 1. Man, I find that what do you call that? That's a garage breakbeat. Gives it that sense of things are going fast but slowing down. So it's this sort of like shifting racing thing. And then with the bass kind of doing its own Latin thing, like boom, 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 with the other elements in the track going about their own kind of rhythm. It really makes it feel like, and then there's sort of these fluttering sounds, which to me reminds me of sort of like engines moving, people overtaking you, you going past them, things kind of zipping by you. Because that's the thing with racing, is that the road and the objects you're passing are coming very quickly. But the people that, if you're trying to catch up to somebody, you might both be going 150 miles an hour or kilometers an hour. But if you're just barely inching up on somebody, it almost seems like they're going slow or even backwards. So I think this really captures that perfectly! And that's a fact. All right, we're not ready for my track of the... I can't call it track of the week. That's a Super Mercado Brothers podcast, which is one of my favorite podcasts and definitely inspired me to do this. Let's go with this one. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I like when you have to guess. You know, I really like the kick drum in this, being that where it's like ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. It really kind of sounds like a foot getting like stuck into the ground and kicking the ball. Ba-boom. Gives it a real kind of propulsion. And it's got almost like a Brazilian samba vibe, which the greatest country to ever play soccer, of course, Brazil, Portugal, Portuguese people in general. Of course, the Portuguese went to Brazil and colonized. I could be talking out of my ass, but I'm assuming Portugal colonized and terrorized the Brazilian people and used a lot of slaves and brought different Aboriginal people and probably black slaves there to create probably like the greatest soccer playing nation of all time. Not great history. Pretty good for an N64. Sounds good use of the sound chip. Are we ready for the greatest track? Not yet. This is a Prince track, I believe. Prince chose a lot of ones from this Backyard School Game series where real athletes are portrayed as children. Ooh. Oh my goodness. Give it to me. What the hell does this have to do with basketball? I like this track. I don't know if it feels super athletic to me. I mean, I guess it's got an energy to it. Almost like a crowd is chanting them along. Maybe if like an athletic dancing competition of maybe in España. All right. A great track though. That was very Tarantino. Are we ready for my ultimate one? My ultimate pick of the week? Let's go. Let's give it. Okay. Here we go. This is my favorite one so far. Man, do I ever go on a bloody journey with this music. The melody is so strong and just adventurous and free. It just goes wherever it wants to. And there's a really kind of like fun, funky, like retro 70s disco guitar, but then more modern elements and more world elements behind it, pushing it along. It's definitely not like a competitive theme where there's any sort of tension. Other than this part, there's a little bit of a tension, and then when it resolves that tension and goes back and does my favorite kind of ba da 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 back into this main section, it's more like, this is kind of like victory lap, like you know you're gonna win after you face the adversity and you've done the training montage and you've tricked your opponent into falling into your plan, and you've dug down deep within yourself, and your friends showed up at the event, and with their power you will become the ultimate champion, and there's no doubt. Bloody wonderful. Oh yeah. So that's Wii Sports Resort version 2 on Super Smash Bros. I'd love to listen to the original after and see how different it is. Okay, what do we have here? Yeah, it's definitely got a real kind of spacey aspect to it. I think it has the melodies sort of harken back to a triumphantness of sports and athleticism. It definitely has a lot more tension and more like spacey bleeps and bloops. I love that kind of low end done with the bass net, like tick, 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 percussion. It's definitely more exotic. It sounds like nothing we really have, the way that it's combined different genres or taken from them in a way that's not immediately apparent. I mean, these are bomber people who are in space, and one of them is riding a... What is that? Some kind of marsupial? A fox kangaroo that this bomber person is riding as he goes to blow up his friends? This is my embarrassing Bomberman story. When my brother got an N64 and he was picking out a Christmas present, we went to the video game store. It was a Walmart. And we go over and my brother's like, I want to get GoldenEye so we can play with our friends. Obviously the right pick. And me, being some moron, went, you should get Bomberman. Never playing a Bomberman game. Thinking, I've read about Bomberman. It sounds like it's the best multiplayer game ever. Don't get GoldenEye. Who wants to play James Bond when you could play Bomberman? Thank God my brother didn't listen to me. That's a nice track. That's on the NES. That was in 1994 in the NES. That's crazy. The best Bomber game now is a fan-made game. They're actually called Louis Fox. Louis the Fat Pox. Moving on. This could be nice. Oh yeah! This is quite joyous. Ooh. Ooh. Ba, 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 da, ba. Man, it's, yeah, those chord changes. I think it's when you go from the root to the major third. You hear it in Creep by Radiohead. Bum, bum. And it's a very dramatic but kind of a positive sound. It's a big shift outside of what your ear is expecting. It's very sort of, I love this because it's very sort of cartoony, almost like, I don't know, circusy, or there's an incredible playfulness to it. It almost sounds like something else. Ba, 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 da, ba. This is a pretty fantastic reimagining of an NES track to the Wii U. That's going back quite a ways. I mean, this probably came out on the NES, I'm going to guess late 80s, 1990 at the latest. And to put that out in, what, 2013? Really nice track. Oh, yeah! Good old Mario Kart 8. Interesting, very polka, with the big tuba, the oompa, 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 and the sort of like stops and hits. It's almost like a bar song you would sing in a pub or something. Like, roll out Mario RPG. Pretty fun, kind of goofy, almost like a really ramshackle type of race where there's problems. It sounds like the things they're racing in are homemade, or it's got that kind of JRPG town fair type of like flute in the beginning. Yeah, like a real simple, almost like medieval type of wind instrument. Yeah, a pogo stick juggling race. It's like a very silly, tie yourself together with your friend kind of a race. Or clowns. Interesting track. That's a nice one to have in the middle. Pretty simple track. I couldn't imagine this being listened to for more than a few seconds. This sounds like Prince says, more of a lobby. Like you're... Boom, 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 boom. It has that, one of my favorite American rock dance beats. Boom, 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 boom. I like the, I don't know if those are like congas. I think to me it sounds like you're playing a monkey's skull, you know? It's got that more of a jungle kind of vibe to it. Don't say jungle when you talk about instruments from Africa. Don't say that. Yeah, it's sort of like, it's weird because it never feels like it goes anywhere because it has because the bass line stays in the same spot. dun dun ba dun 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 dun. It never goes anywhere. It actually kind of sounds like La Bamba too. La la bamba, la la bamba, la 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 bamba. That's weird. It's a weird little vamp. I couldn't imagine playing a whole monkey soccer game to that. Get ready. Oops. Man, that opening riff is so sports. I don't know how to explain that musical theory anyway, other than when you hear that, it sounds like someone should be saying, "Welcome to another beautiful day. Here in the Mushroom Kingdom, we've got Mario facing off against Bowser for the umpteenth time in their history. Who will emerge victorious? Princess Peach's life hangs in the balance. A little serious for a tennis game, but here we go." Sports news, yeah. Today, sports. Dun, 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 dun. Ooh. This one could be intense. I'm just guessing. I haven't heard it yet. Great to have you, Felix. Yeah, this definitely has a racing, fighting game, kind of a athletic sound to it. This B section sounds very Zelda to me. The way they almost use those synthetic MIDI choir voices to be a leading instrument. It definitely, I guess it feels like sports and athletic because it's not really neutral to one or the other. If it was a combat themes generally have a maybe more of a menace to them, a bit more sense of danger. This is a little bit of that, but it's not clear to me when I hear that this is Piccolo's theme, if I didn't know anything about Dragon Ball, which I don't, that I wouldn't be able to tell if Piccolo was a good guy or a bad guy. He sounds slightly sinister in this theme. But then here it's just so kind of triumphant. Strange. Very interesting. It is hard to know what to make of that. Next up, Mana Kamiya, Alchemists of Al-Ravis. High five for victory. Piccolo started off as a bad guy? Well, actually, the theme perfectly describes that. See, this again feels like it's sort of in stasis. So this is a victory theme. That makes sense. It definitely sounds like the victory has happened. Because what they're doing is they're keeping these riffs and the bass progression going, and there's that melody that's going. That stays the same, but then when the bass and everything else moves around it, it's changing the feeling of that. So it kind of changes the feeling of it, which makes you feel like it's moving, but it's actually not going anywhere. It definitely sounds like, okay, it's time to press action, and there's nothing else you can do on this screen, so anytime. You need a little more time to read the screen. Gotcha! No, you can't go back, you gotta go forward. Okay. We'll go forward for you. Alright. Welcome! I'm sorry, I don't know how to read your name. But you said hi, everyone just listening. Welcome. Boom, ba, dun, dun. That's a nice theme. Oh, when I was a kid, well, a teenager, I had a PlayStation, and I asked my mom, can you buy me a multi-tap? A multi-tap was this thing that looks like a boomerang, and you could plug in 4 controllers to it. So you could actually have like 6, no, yeah, one plug port, Jesus, one plug had to go into the PlayStation 1 controller port 1. So you could have 5 people, because it had 4 on the multi-tap and 1 more in the player 2 slot. So I was desperately looking, I'm like, what can you play in the PlayStation 1 that's multiplayer? It's not like the N64, where you had Star Fox, GoldenEye, all of the wrestling games, Super Smash Brothers, Mario Kart, and you call you Oi. Am I saying that right? O-E-Y? Oi? Oya? But, so I was just looking through my magazine, and I was looking through the reviews, and I go, okay, this one has a multiplayer. It says multiplayer, and it's not a great game, but you're about to hear some music from it. It sounds like the piano has gone on to another part of the song and everyone else in the band is still playing the first part. Yeah? No? Okay.
Well, we're at halftime, and it looks like the Bulgarian water bottle faces are up 82,000 to 6. What are they going to do? But first, our sponsor, Juno Software Dishwashing Soap. Clean your motherboard in the time it takes you to take a shit. Oh!
Poi Poi? Poi Poi is one of the greatest PlayStation 1 multiplayer games that really needs a remake. It's a goofy kind of like, it's a 3D arena. Oh, you guys know about it. Yeah, it's like a 3D arena game. You control, I believe, these sort of like goofy, big-headed characters, and you go around in the arena and you pick up items and you throw them at each other, and you can hide behind items and they kind of like knock into each other and explode. But you have these different gloves that give you different power-ups. It's such a good game. It's such a good game. And I've never really heard of it since. And there was another game called Poi Poi, I think with a U, which kind of makes it very confusing. It's such a good game, from what I remember. Poiter's Point. Oh, so good. You could have so much fun with that. It would be a great VR game, except for the movement. But if you're playing a VR game where you were like throwing things at each other, you know, it'd be fun. Remember that game Gorilla or Tank, where you were set in 2 points and you would take turns putting in velocity and power. You try to hit each other. Something like that, where you took like Worms, but in VR, and you get one turn and you have different... Oh my God, I should make a VR game. A VR game that's like Worms, where you're set up in this crazy landscape. Like you could be high up on mountains or something, you know, like really play with the verticality of it. And you have, on your turn, it's turn-based, you can't move. You can teleport maybe a certain distance. Oh, yeah. Swinging on ropes. Worms VR, baby. And then you just take like a grenade and throw it, and then it explodes, and explosions come at you. Oh, my God. I want that to exist. Oh, my God. Worms VR, please. Oh, yeah. I'm so excited for that game that doesn't exist and probably will never exist. I did play a VR version of Frisbee Golf, and that was pretty cool. But it wasn't Worms. All right, here's another Prince theme. Backyard hockey. Bum, 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 ba-dum, ba-dum, bum. Fuck Konami. This sounds like a pretty sort of like generic rock theme from that time. It has like pretty melancholy guitars. This is more like teen angst than kids playing really goofy hockey. This is like definitely preteen. I'm starting to feel feelings. This is really depressing. All right, hey kids, have fun. I hate my mom. She bought me backyard hockey. All right, let's get pumped up. See if you can guess what this is from. All right, that is from Punch-Out. I think I just wrote this in the chat and I'm saying it, but I almost, that kind of like, that kind of dirty, distorted guitar, I almost always don't like that in the mix with other instruments in video game music. I find it always makes it sound really cheesy, and it has kind of zero character. There's definitely songs like the Castlevania Symphony of the Night soundtrack has some really good use of guitar, and sometimes there's some great guitar. The power chord is really cheesy. Like, this is nice, like the more clean guitar. Like that kind of power chord guitar, it just dominates everything, and it has this kind of like really buzzy frequency that pisses me off. And if I hear it, it's the song in my mind, I instantly am kind of repelled by it, and and I can grow to like it. It can win me over, but it's starting off on the wrong foot. As if they care what I like. But it's the trumpets I like in this one. It's got that kind of 70s rocky vibe. I like the kind of sneaky trumpets. This is like, those trumpets are good. The melody is a good way of showing tension, but in a pretty fun, kind of safe, playful way. Like, yeah, tension, but you know, nothing too terrible is going to happen. Excuse me while I close Discord. As you guys keep chatting in it, making the sound on my computer go bloop, 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 bloop. I don't want to discourage you from chatting in Discord. I really like their helmets with the strap. This is a nice one. Yeah, it's actually a skiing track, but it definitely gives you a surfing vibe because of that unmistakable surf guitar vibe, which I think is done really well. And I'm such a sucker for surf guitar music. I think, oh, that kind of stuff. I think that kind of guitar that is doing these slides out of the box where it kind of pulls your ear works really well for a video game, because video games are representing things that are recognizable but doing them in a fantastical way, especially when it's a bunch of apes running around. The apes are wearing clothes. You understand clothes, but not apes, and not when they're video game apes, and not when they're using binoculars and trying to attack you, and you're chasing them with a net, and now you're skiing. Fuck Konami. Is this a Konami game? Oh my god, it is. No, is it? Sony Computer Entertainment. Why do we keep saying fuck Konami? Just fuck Konami? Oh, this is nice. I mean, I guess that skiing is, you're using equipment to move on top of a form of water, frozen water. I mean, skiing is just surfing at a different time of year. Fuck Konami. Just fuck them. If you didn't want to make Metal Gear Solid 5, you shouldn't have started, you bastards. But you made Metal Gear survive. So fuck you. Fucking Konami. Well, we're running out of tracks here, baby cakes. I might want to do a quick stream of Final Fantasy 9. Yeah! We are running out of tracks. Oh my god. We've got 1, 2. Oof. Okay, this is kind of a jokey one. I used to play John Madden's football on the Super Nintendo, and I love the voice samples in this. Well, they didn't say it there. Oh, they don't say it there. Okay, now there's a nice B section. Those drums. Those jazzy cluster chords. Ooh. This is so early 90s guitar with crazy jazz fusion nerd riffs. To me, it sounds like the Ultimate Warrior theme or sort of like a wrestling theme. My favorite part is the touchdown. Those drums. Sports, you just have to have a favorite team or a favorite player. And I wasn't that into sports and hockey until I realized when you're looking at a roster of players, you go, it's almost impossible to predict. And that's the exciting part. Somebody can be really good at sports. Anyone who's in a professional league has been the best at that sport their whole life. And then when they get to the big leagues, sometimes that person who was the best their whole life doesn't quite want it enough, and you watch them never reach that. Or maybe somebody who was kind of the second or third best player their whole life, but they have the heart and they have the mind to overcome their lack of natural skill. And some players can watch them rise and fall, and maybe they have like drug problems or injury problems, and people write them off, and then they come back. Like my favorite sports story is there was a guy who wasn't drafted to play for a hockey team, and he just kept going down and down in the leagues to the point he was playing in like the 4th or 5th league that no one in the NHL, the real major hockey league, would ever play. He was playing like ball hockey at one point in a summer league. And he got to the point where he's probably like in his mid to late 20s, and people were going, his friends are probably like, "Oh, you're still doing the hockey thing, huh? You don't want to like go back to school or get a trade?" And he just worked and worked, and eventually he just kept rising because he had a good mind for it. He wasn't big, he wasn't fast, but he understood it better than most people. Anyways, that's enough about sports. Well, I guess this is the sports episode, so I don't feel too bad talking about it. What do we got here? Oh shit, we played this one in the beginning. Okay, let's move on. All right, let's give one of Prince's another try. This is from Backyard Skateboarding. Backyard Skateboarding.
1, 2, 3, 4. Woo! When if you love to rock and you live to skate, but you're feeling all alone, you gotta see what kind of interest you can generate. You got to build yourself a home. When you're straight out of nowhere, it's hard to know where to begin.
This sounds like somebody failing at Rock Band.
When you fight to the top and you win. The streets they went in winter time, and it gave me feeling low. But now you know it's summertime, and the days are going slow. And now there's no more to ride, so my feelings overflow. Gonna run outside, jump on deck, 'cause you know you gotta go, go, go. You know, time was this town didn't used to have nothing to do for anybody on wheels, like so many towns. But that all changed when you came along. You stepped up, you
It definitely has that late 80s hair metal, like Motley Crue. Bam, bam, boom, bam, bam, bam. It sounds like Panama. Van Halen. Bam, bam, boom, bam, boom, boom, boom. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, alright, Jesus Christ. Skate Rock Dude, the Knights of Rockville. Hey, Rudy! Do we have a track to finish it off? And then I'm going to come back. I'll take a 5-10 minute break. I'm going to go make myself a coffee and give Stella a kiss. And then I'm going to come back with some Final Fantasy 9. You think that's cheering you can hear? That ain't cheering. No way. All right. How about the first one? All right, if you're watching the YouTube upload of this, which will be available later today, because I'm going to be doing some streaming, so I can't upload it then. Thank you for watching, and we will be back every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, Daylight Savings Time. I guess you have to call that Eastern Standard Time instead of Eastern Daylight Savings Time. And we're going to discuss what is the next week's theme in the chat. And then I'm going to come back with some Final Fantasy 9 after this. So thanks for watching on YouTube.